Next one. Effortless interaction. That's actually a recurring theme. And one of the ways effortless interaction could occur is if the machines would know what you look at. Now, that's also, one of the scary directions, one of the very interesting directions. Google Glass is also monitoring your eye. It's not just that way, it's also that way. But how can we use that? We have an interesting example, again from Europe, of effortless interaction, which will be presented by Anders Bo Pedersen, IBM.
Yeah, sure.
You don't have to.
Okay.
Good.
Hey, das Mikro. Das Mikro. Das funktioniert nicht.
And the tablets that I see on your tables here, and the mobile phones that are probably in your pockets. So today I'm going to introduce you to eye tracking in case you don't know what it is. I'm going to talk a little about the unique characteristics of this input modality. I'm going to show you a few use cases, and I'm going to also talk about interaction principles involved in this. Lastly, I'm going to show you a live demo of why we think this is a new input modality that is at least as good as touchscreen as you know it, as voice control as you know it, and many more things. So what you see here is a sort of classic eye tracking setup. You have a specialized piece of hardware that is able to see a user. From that, and with a bit of image processing, you are able to detect head, eyes, and lastly, pupil and glint. The specialized piece of hardware could be this. This is the eye tracker from my company, the iTribe, working for Windows and Mac, purchased from our webpage, that consists of simple sensor hardware. We have 2 infrared light emitters and a mobile camera sensor. That together with our unique software enables you to get data regarding where you are looking on the screen and also the position of the user's head. Simple stuff, but why is this good? What can this actually be used for? Well, the unique characteristics of this new input modality are just that, unique. Imagine being able to look at a device and not use a mouse, not use fingers to touch a screen, but instead totally and truly effortlessly just interact with it by looking at it. And that is why using eye tracking and eye control for this is truly effortless. It's intuitive to look at the object you want to interface with, and therefore eye tracking in nature is intuitive. Secondly, using eye control input is incredibly fast. You can look to the upper right corner to the lower left corner of a screen in nanoseconds. You cannot do that as equally fast with any other input modality. So what we think at this company is that eye tracking together with some new user experience paradigm creates a new input modality that we call eye control. And what we also know is that this is a totally new area, an area that despite the age of eye tracking in general is still not that researched. The basic UX paradigms of this area are yet to be settled. But what can it then be used for? Well, we usually talk about having some active use cases and some passive use cases. The active use cases are, at least in my eyes, get it? Very obvious. So you are able to control a browser, you are able to control anything that you would be controlling on a computer today using eye input, as you would normally control it with maybe touch or a mouse. So imagine scrolling a web page by merely looking down at the bottom of the screen. Or imagine an ebook reader where you turn pages by looking at the bottom right corner without using mouse and without using your hands. Another big area of active use cases is within the field of gaming. So the gaming industry are always looking of new ways to create fantastic user experiences, of creating fantastic games. Here, eye control could again be used as a new input modality maybe strengthening the gameplay of a known game, or maybe creating totally unique and new games. Other active use cases could be, for instance, unlocking your phone using a pattern that you look at together with facial recognition. It could be building this into things that we know already, like smart TVs and car panels, and making you able to interface and interact with the car panels, for instance, without having to fiddle around whilst driving. And lastly, this technology can also, of course, help the elderly and disabled by creating unique interfaces that will allow them, the people that are not capable of touching a screen, to interface with the computer anyways. The other area of use cases I mentioned was the passive ones. Many have probably heard of eye tracking in regards to conducting usability studies, or maybe in regards to conducting research in general of user behavior. That is also a major field of this technology, and will remain so with our tracker. But the passive use cases can actually be taken a step further. Imagine eye tracking running in the background while every one of you browses the web every day and just uses your computer. In these days where there's a lot of talk of surveillance and NSA, I don't want to say that we should all have eye tracking running in the background, but imagine the ability you would have to be able to customize, for instance, advertisement on web pages if you knew what a user had been looking at earlier. Also, today, much advertisement is paid per click. With this technology, you would actually be able to, know how long you would have been looking at an advertisement.